Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are in the country and in the world, and whether you're watching live or on replay. We're much better live, it's much more fun. Today's an extra webinar. We slotted it in. It was a suggestion from a few people, and including my guest today and her colleagues. And we thought, you know what? Why not? Let's do an extra one. 30 isn't enough. 30 for 30. We did 30 webinars. Finally finish next week, and we thought let's fit another one in. Why not? And today's the day. And I have joining with me today. Today's webinar, as you saw on the front page there, is about improving code quality and code security. I'm very pleased that some of the familiar faces have managed to make it with us, including Einstein from Nantes, and Paul is saying that to Boyan because Boyan has got a conference call. Boyan, stop doing work and come to our webinars. You know, they're far more important than all of this. And we've got a few people as well saying hello from Brazil and stuff like that. Thank you very much. We're going to go straight into our actual content because we need to get on with things. And just making sure I've got everything ready. Yep, we're good to go. Okay, well, without further ado, joining me today in the studio. Oh, see, now I did a terribly stupid thing. I did not turn my phone off. I do apologize. I've moved and all sorts of horrible things happening. Anyway, joining me today live is a very talented I think we settled on security engineer because there was some discussion about what exactly the job title will be. But joining me in the studio, so to speak, is Valerie Kim. Let me just, there she is. Hello, Valerie.
Hi, Ian. Hi. It's nice to see you and nice to see everyone who could make it to today's webinar.
Yeah, there's quite a few people come along as well. We're gradually ticking up the counters as well of who's there. I'm going to put a couple of QR codes up because so that people know where to go. If they scan that code, I can point to it nowadays. I've practiced this over many webinars, but if they scan that QR code, it will take them straight to your site. And also we're going to show some tabs as well. Let me just pull up this is what we settled on, wasn't it, on your job title? Because you said you wear many hats, I think was how we called it. Yeah, that's right.
It's a tough economy. You have to make do. So
yeah. Well, yeah. That's what we settled on. So security engineer, DerScanner. For those of you that are not familiar, DerScanner are a tech partner. I think we've had Andy on before. Maybe you might have been on. I don't think you've been on a webinar before with me. Is that right? I could be wrong there. I think we've had meetings, but I don't think we actually did a webinar together.
I think that's a first for me.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go then. And we got quite a few people coming to watch us. We've got all around the world. We've got Brazil, Lewisburg in the United States, watching from Panama. Wow, you really reached some people there. Zagreb and Francis. I know he's in the UK, and Paul is in the US. I know him as well, and we've already included people from France and things like that. So what we're going to do, so that people realize this is not really me presenting today. And one of our MVPs in Brazil saying hi as well. Hello, friend Ian Barker. Say hello to Valerie as well. She's here. So rather than me present today, what we're going to do is turn it over to Valerie. She's already said, I'm a little bit concerned about this. You know me, guys. I just get on with it. But some people are professionals, and Valerie is one of those, and she's much more concerned about getting a good presentation out of it. So there you go. And you've got people from Milan watching you as well. There you go. No pressure now. You've got people all around the world. Okay, so do you want to share your screen? And then I'll turn that screen on, and then people can... are you going to share your screen straight away, or are you going to just talk to start off with?
I think I'd start things off with like a little chat.
Okay.
So we don't have to look at, just screen where nothing's going on, nothing's really happening. I think seeing my lovely face, your lovely face is much better.
Exactly.
Yeah. So basically, my name is Valerie. I'm with DerScanner team. Very excited to be joining Ian here. And the thing I wanted to cover today is that thing, the never-ending thing where the time constraints of the business that don't go anywhere and that push us to not only write code, write new features, keep it maintainable, and keep it secure. And it's a lot to swallow and it's a lot to take in. And then we turn to automation tools, but then we also fall into the same trap with Delphi specifically that you can be automating your security, your quality by different tools. And then you once again spend extra time, extra effort trying to pull those into the same framework. And it just takes too many times we see that it takes too much time to pull this results together, and you're actually wasting more time than if you just did a classic code review, just going line by one with the developer. And that is precisely why we at DerScanner came up with the code quality update from a security vendor. And now actually I'd like to go over to my screen.
I probably should turn my microphone on, shouldn't I? We were worried before about an echo, and so I said, I'll mute my microphone, but that doesn't work because I forget to do it. Okay, if you share your screen and then I can turn it on the stream as well. I'm going to hide some of the bits and bobs that we've got. Let me just turn that on. And what I'm going to do, Valerie, is I'm going to turn my view off and then leave you to present. And we said before, we'll probably turn the camera off as well. So you don't need to do anything. I can do that for you. Okay.
That's fantastic.
So I'll leave it over. I'll leave it over to you. Okay.
Okay, great. So now with that introduction, let me just give a few pointers to those of you who might not be familiar with DerScanner. So DerScanner is primarily a security-focused vendor that supports a large number of historically significant and modern popular languages. And Delphi is one of those. So that's kind of how we struck it with Embarcadero. Not a few vendors out there support the language, but we do still believe that using Delphi should be more mainstream than it is. And basically, so about that unified approach, as a security vendor, we do understand that you might already have some tools for quality as well in place. You might be using some linters, sure, no problem. You might be using SonarQube, also, like, it's better than nothing. However, what are the benefits of having those in the same platform? So let me guide you through how it's going to look like to make sure that we are not impeding your development process with another tool that gives you like a bunch of results that you know nothing about what to do with. So in terms of how your analysis is going to look like, it doesn't differ much from the static analysis that is like the household classic for DerScanner. So you can either provide the source code of your application, just drag and drop it, or alternatively connect your development repo straight to DerScanner. And then about the options for your quality and security checks, let's look through the settings and not trouble ourselves with all that's here. But for now, focus only on two things. So as you can see, you can either run a classic static check. You can also do a solo code quality check if that's your priority at the moment, or you can run them simultaneously. So this generally will save you a lot of extra time to just set up a bunch of different tools, get those results, and then pull them together. Also, making these two different approaches accessible within a single platform, make sure that you're not getting code quality issues in the results of your static analysis and vice versa. So let's do a combined check. And while we're at it, let me also quickly guide you through how you're going to distinguish those types of analysis. Whoa. So basically, for your static analysis only. Why am I not in the right place? You're gonna see something like this. So this is how your classic card is gonna look like. Then if you do have a code quality check and nothing else, we're gonna highlight it like this. And then lastly, if you have this combined scan that has best of the both worlds, it will be stored right here. So let's jump and see what it's gonna look like in the results and why using a professional tool is better than just running a linter. So your first point of contact will be actually overview page. This will just give you some visuals to help you familiarize yourself with like the overall posture of the application you scanned. This view stays consistent for static, for dynamic, for software composition. So for every analysis type in DerScanner, code quality is no exception. Will help you with some visuals with a breakdown by the severity of those identified issues. Give you a moment to praise yourself that your project's been doing better over time, hopefully better. We all strive for excellence. And then the things that you tumbled across most frequently will all be highlighted here. So on why using a specialized solution. So the thing about specialized code quality checks is that you can do those manually, sure. Great thing, great for like, team building, education, also perhaps running into a few conflicts with the colleagues over something not as obvious as a security issue. But also it's a lot of effort. It's hard to navigate when we're doing our jobs not in like the same physical facility. Gets progressively more difficult to catch the time. And also it lacks some of the tools that you could be checking for automatically. Things like some code metrics that DerScanner will be able to pull up for you. So basically, we'll be looking at the following for the whole code base that you upload for analysis. It's going to be cyclomatic complexity, defining the exact number of logical paths the code sequence can take. Then code comprehension complexity, which sounds like it could be something similar, but in fact, this will deal more with like the overall structure of the code, nesting, multiple conditions, stuff like that. We'll also highlight if your code has too many comments. So if you want to go and pursue a writing career, that's also fabulous and we're rooting for you, but maybe leave it outside of your code base.
I love that. Yeah, it's sometimes that's one of those things where you want comments, but you don't want too many comments, right?
It's all about balance. So as one wise man once said, it's not about pushing the rock to the top, it's just about pushing the rock. So if your code has too many comments, maybe it needs some refactoring. I'm sorry, it is what it is. I don't make the rules. And also we'll highlight the percentage of duplicates and pull them all into a single location, so you don't have to be like, am I tripping or did I already see that? And last but not least, keeping your functions laconic is also the way to go. So if there are any mishaps going around there, you're also free to take a look at those and assess those before it spirals out of control and out of proportion. And all of those metrics will be pulled for like every language that you perform the analysis for. So since we've been working really hard to bring this update for Delphi community first, we in this test application have Pascal and Delphi. And also if you do have some Java TypeScript thrown in the mix, they'll also be highlighted here. So let's look at Delphi. We see that like this application is honestly all right. For the most part, all of the things stay in the green zone where we like it. So we only have like one mediocre issue residing here. If we take a look at the function length, So you're mostly in the clear, but there are still some things that you perhaps would want to take a look at. And now let's proceed and do just that.
And I think it's important to emphasize that these are suggestions, not hard and fast rules. So what you're showing there is that there are some functions that look like it's what we would call a code smell. It looks like the functions are too long, and generally it's considered best practice to have smaller functions, smaller amounts of blocks of code with not too many things going on in that code, so that one of the things is called single responsibility. Each function should only do one thing and one thing only. If you've got an extra long function like that, the DerScanner is actually detecting and going, wait a minute, this looks suspiciously like it could be too complicated. It might be that something bad is going on, and that's really what you're saying, isn't it?
Yes, and so if we also circle back to having that not as obvious ground to threat as with security. So with security, if a vulnerability is a vulnerability, like you don't call the kettle black. But with things like code smells, it ultimately, in most cases, boils down to best practices or something that you in your own separate world decided to be what works best for you. And ultimately, when you go through those with things like linters, you're missing stuff. So like on metrics, you're probably missing. And if you go for that manually, it smells conflict, and we don't like that. And now you have that tool that just has its like unbiased judgment and doesn't want to say that someone did a job that could have been hypothetically allegedly better. So takes a lot of stress from your development team to be poured back to what they do the best, and that is writing some code. And let's circle back to where we actually were. And these were the results. So we've covered that DerScanner's code quality will identify a bunch of stuff. So if we look at that stuff by category, here's the distinction that we make. So the first thing will be what we call bugs, but in reality, it's just like bad practice or something deprecated that you perhaps want to update accordingly. So something that would look pretty similar to your vulnerability. Then we have those duplicating code sections that will also pull into a separate category. And then any access and surpassing a specific metric will also be highlighted as a category of its own. Let's go and take a look at those one by one to see what you can actually expect. So now is perhaps also a great time and place to talk about where does DerScanner take a judgment from. So to keep it simple, there are like two main knowledge bases that we pull from. The first one being DerScanner's expertise, like over 10 years of being in the market of security with like some focus on quality. So if perhaps you're familiar, even our like just classic static analysis does feature some of the code quality features. So we took those, and we also took some recommendations by practitioners of Delphi, Pascal, who've also been here for a while, to come up with these best practices that in most cases you'd probably like to follow to keep the code A, unified, B, easily maintainable, and C, like if you just have any new addition easily comprehensible by those new people. So it's gonna look like this. In the bottom of the page, you're gonna have the abstract of code that contains this thing like code smell. And we have like also a bit of the education, so or the reasoning, the way you prefer on like why we highlighted this. In the issue description, we're gonna provide you with like what would be best in this scenario, and in the example, you also get like a standardized example of this particular issue. and what would have been better in this particular case. So that's how it's gonna look like. Let's also take a look at something else, like deprecated components. Oh, and this one is critical. So here also, you just might be using a bunch of stuff that's been obsolete for a while. We'll tell you exactly what the problem seems to be, and provide you once again with a generalistic example of what's going on and how you could improve that. Also, as with like any vulnerabilities with any results produced by static analysis tools, you do not have to oblige by all of those findings. So if you don't like it, you could just, I believe that I've confirmed this one prior to this demo, but you could always say that, you know what, I just like, that's fine. That's what we've been doing in this company for the last 10 years, and we're going to continue to do so. That's up to you, absolutely. So you slap that rejected and just see it disappear from the face of the earth. All of these changes will be stored in between different scans to make sure that if something triggers you and something you seem to be you seem to find absolutely fine, absolutely correct, and the only way to go, you don't have to prove that to the analysis module every single time. So there's that for the bugs. Now let's take a look at duplicates and metrics. So for the duplicates, it's pretty straightforward. It's always nice and easy to just pass that work to some tool that doesn't get tired from looking for too much code. And we'll just pull off all of those duplicating sections into a single location so you can take a look, know exactly where they are in the code, so where you need to make those changes, those adjustments, and you can only leave this repeating section of code in a single location where it matters without repeating yourself. So that would be it for the duplicates. It's once again really straightforward. And the metrics, like that gem of having a specialized tool do your code quality checks instead of just doing this all by yourself. There's actually like great math going on behind how we calculate all of those things. However, I'm more of a yapper and not a formula explainer. So we'll just go through what you get once those calculations come to fruition. So basically, we'll take the whole base, we'll take a particularly good look on everything that is somehow connected to how you process any user input, any data, any functions, any methods, and calculate those for everything that we detect during the scan.
I think it's important to notice as well that, as you said, you'd say I'm not a professional explainer, which I thought was funny, but actually the scanner does do that. It does explain. And so if people aren't familiar with the cyclomatic complexity, because it is one of those things where it's like, oh God, what's that? It is a score to say, well, your computation that's going on here is a little bit convoluted, it's a little bit complicated. Well, even if you didn't know what that was, when they go and select one of the problems, each one of those has that little explanatory block there underneath. So it tells you what score you're looking at, the cyclomatic complexity. See, even I can't say it. And giving it a score of 17, saying it's found 17 things there. And then it tells you exactly what that is. So if you're not sure why this would or wouldn't be a problem, the actual product itself explains what it is, and it pulls from different sources as well to get that information. But then when you go on to each one of the problems like you do, it shows you exactly the bit of code that it's talking about as well. So this is what I like about this product. It's why we have you on. I think it's very easy to use, but also more importantly, it's very clear, explaining to you what is not right. It doesn't just say, hey, we found 17 problems to do with cyclomatic complexity. No, it says, and here they are, and here's what's wrong and why that's the problem. And I think that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So when perhaps I said that I might not be the best math person out there, I just basically leave that work for DerScanner to be done for me. And there's also like a great emphasis on the educational purpose of using any code quality tool, like not necessarily DerScanners. That if you think about it, so we are, of course, much more focused on security issues because this is what costs us money, like in the immediate future if there's something amiss. But also, it's important to understand that at the base of that secure code, every time lies quality code, something that's easy to understand, easy to maintain, because it just like overall lowers the chance of that vulnerability slipping in. And a lot of part of writing that clean code is just being constantly educated about like what the best practice would be. So if we once again draw from those professional writers analogies, you can treat yours as kind of a code redactor that would take your snippet of code and say like, hey, a nice function you got here, but it's too complex. So I tripped and fell over my knees a couple of times while I was going through this function, and I'm not sure I understood what it means in the end. And just maybe you could break that down into like a few smaller sections, a few smaller methods to maintain that comprehensibility and making sure that the intention is clear for you and for your colleagues alike. Where was I? So yeah, for the cyclomatic complexity, this one, as we've stated previously, will determine the number of different logical routes the code can take. And like it just indicates that the more logical routes the application can take, the more complex it is for execution, thus more prone to like any mishaps, vulnerabilities. It's also way harder to understand if your workday is thrown in on its close and it's a Friday night. We have a Thursday night here, but kind of same thing. For the complexity of code perception, let's look at the critical. Oh, immediately we get struck with that 136, which is like a lot. And this, if you take a look at the code, really is just something extremely messy with like a bunch of things nested into each other. So really hard to digest for a developer, for a machine alike. And basically, that's what we're going to be passing our judgment based off of. And also, if you want, you can take a look at the example. And once again, how you could break it down into a few smaller sections to preserve the meaning while also not sacrificing the overall readability and function. And lastly, we do have the function lengths, which are once again more straightforward. I believe the most complex from the list would be the call comprehension. Sounds a bit subjective. Here, however, it's once again pretty straightforward. The longer a function is, the more difficult your task of making sense of it and also just making sure that every method gets closed appropriately it becomes. So you have this, not ideal. The general recommendation would be to break it down into a few smaller things without unnecessarily repeating yourself, without the necessity to leave a bunch of stuff to make other people understand what it was that you were writing that one Friday night at the bar when the deadline was crawling in on you. And that would be pretty much it on the types of issues you could be looking to catch with those code quality checks. As you can see, they build on industry's best practices. Not all of those are exclusive to Delphi, so some would be like just a genuinely good approach to any code that you write. And if you want to make this information accessible to people without having to resort to like a different tool, we also provide that information available in the security reports. So it's actually my last point in the agenda. I wanted to briefly cover what the report can offer you, just to make sure that you can still have it even if you're not that hyped on using DerScanner itself.
Yeah, it looks good. And let me just, I'm going to turn your camera back on again. There we go.
Hi.
See, we got you come back again. Hooray. That's your demo, isn't it? You're kind of done now. Is that right?
We could be looking for a bunch of other stuff. We could be going for a Q&A session, like whatever works.
Yeah, I get it. It's basically the same. I'm going to turn the screen sharing off. That was the reason I was asking. So quite a few people scanned your QR code whilst we were talking. I think we wanted to do this extra webinar just to bring to the attention it's not just about the security, because some of the Delphi people will know about DerScanner from the code security scanning as well, because that's another thing that you do, is that they can point their you take your project and you upload it. It is secure. It's not going off to train I don't know, your competitor or something like that. It is going to those servers to be scanned, and then it does a static analysis for things like security, but also comes up with things like, oh, you've got blank passwords and stuff like that, because that's the most common thing that some of the MVPs I know and some of the open source people, we did a conversation with Andy before, who you work with, your colleague, and some of the people took him up on the offer. And one guy, Christoph, who I don't think he's on the webinar, but in the chat, but Christoph.
But I think we've chatted with him.
Yes, yeah. Well, he had a score of a certain value. It was pretty good. And my understanding is, after talking to you guys, he actually got it up to like the best score. And I know that some of my more skeptical MVPs also did a scan with you as well. So actually, it did find some stuff, and they were like, "Yeah, but it could have been better." They, you know what? It could be perfect. They would still say that. Okay, but it did find things that were genuine security issues or potential security issues as well, in projects that are very widely used. So I was quite pleased. I know it's an ongoing thing. I know that DerScanner or DerSecure as a company are doing a lot more. We've got some other things planned in the background that Andy and I have talked about. But I really like your company. We get on very well. I think you're very good tech partners, and I think that your product's one of those products where everybody wins. I talk about it and it makes me look great. You talk about it, it makes your product look great and us look great as well, because what you showed today was slightly different from the security. It does kind of lean in towards security, because if your code quality is complicated, like you said, with cyclomatic complexity and things like that, complicated code can be insecure code, because if people don't understand it, they go to make a change, and that can be a problem as well. But I really like the fact that you focused on the quality and code smells, which is always, I hate that phrase, but it's very true. It is a good phrase, to say, oh, something stinks here, and what is it? It's a rotten bit of code. That's what it is. But it's good. We had a lot of, I'll just tick on a couple of the comments that came through whilst you were talking, because I know you couldn't see it, because you said previously your screen was there, but you had a whole bunch of people saying, hello, Valerie. They're very pleased to have you. So, a couple of weird spellings of your name, but hey, it was close enough. and they said hello and stuff like that. So you're popular because they don't do that to the ones they don't like. So there you go. There was a question which is, oh, and actually Christoph says he is here as well. Nice, thanks. Can DerScanner compare prior scans and tell me if my code is improving? Is that something that you're able to do, or do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, absolutely. If I could just pull back my screen to like also not be that 1%.
I'm just going to hide us again. So, I think I can do that. Hold on. This. There you go.
Yeah. So basically, we have like this high focus on actually acknowledging your efforts in making the code more secure, more readable, more maintainable. And there are a bunch of locations where you could access this information. So basically, anywhere we could just slap you with your improvements. So you could wear those as a badge of honor during your next code review session. This would be the first location. Here, you can see how the security rating of the application has been doing over time. So this went up, amazing, you did a great job. And this is the dynamics by the number of identified issues. So if we were talking about code security, we would call this vulnerabilities. But since like these are just like the things that stink, we have settled on naming those issues. It's pretty much the same in essence, and the number of vulnerabilities went significantly down. So you did a great job. And this is one place where you can flex that. You can also transfer that to a security report. So if I may, let's jump and see. Pretty much the same thing, but if you need that paperwork done, it just gives you like an easy way out without you having to like hope for the hopes.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, and do it by yourself. And also, we do have a dedicated scan comparison tab. So if you have 2+ scans, you can compare like any one of like any two, a combination of any two. And this will also just supply you with nice visuals, great for like those analytics sessions when you're not just picking the vulnerabilities, the issues, whatever, one by one, but just want to see that like you've actually did something and you can be proud, and maybe you deserve that raise, and maybe you don't have to prove it. So yeah.
In this financial market nowadays, I think it's just avoid getting fired. I think is the way I would look at it. Is avoid getting canned. But yeah, so there's a trend, you know, that you can follow and say, well, yeah, you are improving, or unfortunately, not improving, because that's obviously the other thing that trend might show is that, yeah, you didn't do too good. You actually wrote some more code and it made it worse. I think it's great. I think, you know, I really like this tool. Actually, well, a couple of comments. Paul says, nice presentation. We'll look into it for our projects, which is great. I know Paul, and I talk to him regularly. He's an interesting guy. And JP, who I think you may have worked with for the security scan as well, because he runs the Taurus TLS project, which I know they were sorting some things out. And his score was, he scored a certain, not a bad score, and then he tweaked some stuff, and then it improved his score up to like 4.7 or something like that as well. So it helped him. It's an open source project, and Andy arranged for that as well. Can you do scans right in your ID? The one feature I like from previous studio and SonarQube. The answer is no, not at the moment. Am I right in saying that, Valerie? I think that currently the scan would be done online. That's correct.
So in terms of how those ID integrations would work, we still don't have that integration with Rad Studio. We have been talking about it for a while, and we are very determined to see this through. However, the timeline is still not something I can be talking about with certainty. So
neither can we. Yeah. I mean, I think the thing I can say on behalf of Embarcadero and DerScanner is that we had some meetings about it when I first saw this product and said, this is great, I love this. And you are very gung-ho for joining, making sure you support Delphi, which is great. There are a lot of people out there that have some very big projects that would benefit from security and code quality scanning. We had some meetings with Andy, and there is a movement to try and produce an IDE add-in. It's not easy. There's a lot of involvement behind the scenes, and I've been involved in some of the email exchanges backwards and forwards, but there's a willingness from DerScanner to do it. So in answer to JP's question there, no, you can't at the moment, but it is something that's actively we're hoping to try and achieve. But it's software development. Whenever you give a time scale, it's never accurate. It's just how it works. So we'll say as soon as we can. That's what we're looking to do.
And the roadmap's ever changing, and there is nothing we can do about it. So
we're not allowed to have roadmaps. They make it quite clear we can't have roadmaps. So Embarcadero is. It's one of the things they don't like doing. Yeah. Okay. Well, excellent. I'm gonna probably call it a day there, but I think you did a good summary of what it can do. Just to emphasize, in case people didn't get what we were talking about, there are two sides to this. DerScanner can do scans for security, so it can spot things like like I say, weak encryption algorithms, missing or empty passwords, bad handling of credentials, all those things that are actually quite difficult to spot because the code is not failing. It's not going, you're not getting errors when you compile it, but what's happening is that what you're doing in the code is a very bad idea, or it's just you haven't noticed it's a bad idea. Going through 50,000 lines of code to try and spot those things is difficult. DerScanner does that for you and solves that problem. So that's one thing. The other side of it is what you showed today, which is the code quality, which actually is important as well. It is helpful for security, but also it helps improve the the longevity. I might turn my phone down and it still makes sounds. It helps, the code quality helps improve the longevity of the code as well. It means it's more maintainable going forwards as well. So yeah, and Paul likes your software, so there you go. It's good stuff. Or as he says, 200,000 lines of code. That's a small project.
Yeah.
People with 9 million lines of code. So yeah.
Going all in.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Valerie. I really appreciate it. I think that went well. You feel okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And perhaps if I just may occupy a tiny fraction of your time. So while Red Studio add-on is still underway, we're actually very excited to announce the second thing that we'll be doing shortly, which is AI remediation. So one step closer to doing less work ourselves and leaving more work to automated tools. And I'm very excited to be talking about it, I think, with Jan somewhere in May.
Yeah, well, that's right. We're doing a whole coding camp actually on AI. And I know that because that actually, let's pull that up whilst we do it. If they scan this is part of it. This is a separate project, but if you scan that healthypackages.ai, this is live now, and it's more for I think web packages and JavaScript and TypeScript. I think that's fair to say. When I've spoken to yourselves in the past, that's kind of where they're at. But what it does is scans your projects for what we would call supply chain vulnerabilities. And what that means is, like if you are writing some code and you include some JavaScript libraries, or you're relying on an outdated version of I don't know, like some Google library or something like that, that's got a known vulnerability, healthypackages.ai will help you identify those packages. And I think your as I understand it, you're hoping to expand a bit more into much greater sort of use of AI in general.
Yeah. Actually,
yeah, so cool.
this one is a much bigger update, and this will bring like that those remediation advices that you get, which are great, but you still have to, just get back to your code, get back to your ID, and type it out yourself, and then go for a rescan. This will automate the process, while also still keeping you 100% secure and not leaking your data to DerScanner or any third party, which is something we're very proud of and very happy and excited to be talking about.
Yeah, and I think this is one thing that Embarcadero has caught up on as well, which is even if people hate AI, and I get it, I call myself an optimistic skeptic. What I mean is I think that AI has got massive potential. I think the world has changed. 2 years ago, when OpenAI and all the rest of it came about, I think the world changed, but there's still a long way to go. A lot of these, if you ask some of the AI some questions, some of the answers it gives are nonsense, and you've got to be good at spotting that's a bad idea. But I think that is a temporary thing, because as they improve, which is what AI is designed to do, of course, learn, as it gets better, it's a whole new era is coming along, like you say, automating a lot of these tasks and actually being a very fast assistant developer, which is what the AIs will be. You don't trust them to do everything, but you do trust them to give them tasks and say, hey, go away and check this, or go away and write this, or go away and design this, and it does it. And I think I'm not a young guy, and I'm not scared by it, and I've got every reason to be frightened. and I'm not. I think it's a great new tool set it's as important as the invention of the internet, as important as the invention of flat panel screens and stuff like that. So good stuff. Yeah, I'm very excited. Okay, well,
inevitable.
Yes, of course. Yeah. You can keep saying no, and hold it back, but eventually it'll just flatten you. So that's the way it is. Yeah, actually. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Valerie, and I'm going to say goodbye to you now. But if you got any final words before I let you go?
No, thank you for being this hospitable host and getting me through this. It was a pleasure to see some new faces today, and I hope to catch you somewhere in the next one.
No worries. Okay. Well, I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, and thanks to Valerie. She did an excellent job. This webinar, we deliberately added an extra webinar to make sure that we covered this topic in good time, because we've got a lot coming up. I'm back again tomorrow talking about dark mode, and that is part of our regular 30 for 30. But as I said to people before, if you click on the like and subscribe button, you'll get a notification when we do something like this, where we do a webinar that's kind of out of the sequence and not unplanned, but like not planned as far ahead as we had before. And with DerScanner will be coming back. They've got other things to talk about, and they have got this AI thing that they're working on, which we will be looking at in June, I think, is when they're going to be ready. So it's good stuff. Oh, and Christoph Schneider, he did say he was here. And by the way, Christoph, thank you for your input as well, because I did pass on your comments as well before. Christoph had some of his stuff scanned, and they were very complimentary about Christoph, saying, like he changed some things and he got a perfect score on a security score. So that was pretty good. I had a meeting with him earlier on today to talk about something else. There you go. Okay, well, thanks for joining us, everybody, and I will see you again same time tomorrow, where we will be doing one of the very last 30 for 30 webinars. Until then, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.